Well, students, today we are going to discuss the most important topic, teaching models. Under this teaching model, we will also finish the GLASER'S basic teaching model. Okay, there are two models of teaching in your syllabus according to the Kurukshetra University. Today, we will discuss about the GLASER'S basic teaching model, and next we will do the Bruner's concept attainment model. Okay, but before going into the GLASER'S basic teaching models, first of all, you should know about the what are the teaching models. Okay, what is the meaning of teaching models? So, first of all, we will understand here under this topic what we will finish today, right? In this lecture, today we will finish concept meaning of teaching models. Okay, what is the meaning of teaching models, concept of teaching models? Then we will discuss about features and characteristics of teaching models, right? And number third is most important components or elements of teaching model, right? Then we will start our first model, GLASER'S basic teaching model. Glaser, it is a name of the person. He was an American psychologist. The full name of Robert Glaser. He gave this model in 1962, right? Then we will do the GLASER basic teaching model. Then we will discuss the what are the components of GLASER basic teaching model, right? And in last, what we will understand description of GLASER'S basic teaching model, right, guys? So this is a important topic, interesting topic, right? It is very useful for the teacher. So first we understand what is the meaning of teaching models. Guys, teaching models are very useful for the teachers, as the name suggested, na, teaching models, right? So it is very useful for the teacher for planning and organizing teaching activities as well. Please understand what these model does. These models helps the teacher for designing curriculum or course of study. You know what is a curriculum? Curriculum is a syllabus plus co-curricular activity. If we have the knowledge of teaching models, so we can design and make the curriculum as well. Development and selection of instructional material. Anna, you have seen that sometimes teachers get confused from where they have to start. Anna, so these model helps the teacher for the development as well as selection of the instructional material which teacher is going to deliver in the class. As well, it guiding the teacher's activity, right, guys? So these are the main four major functions of teaching models. Basically, what teaching model does, right? Teaching model number one, designing of curriculum or course of study, we just discussed. Number second, development and selection of instructional material, which we are going to deliver into the class. It also helps in development as well as selection of instructional material. Number third, it guides the teacher's activity in teaching learning process. Okay, when the teacher is teaching in the class 35 minutes, 40 minutes, it also guides the teacher, which method teacher has to use, which strategies teacher has to use, what should be the objective of particular topic, right? And improving teaching, right, guys? Now you are doing the B.Ed, you are going to become a teacher, so you should know about these teaching models. Okay, when you know these teaching models, you can make your teaching learning process effective, right, guys? So there are some definitions of teaching models we understand. The first definition is given by the Joyce and Wheel, right? Joyce and Wheel say that teaching model is a pattern or plan. What is a teaching model? Teaching model, basically it is a pattern or plan which can be used to shape a curriculum or course, to select instructional material and to guide a teacher's action. Got it? Paul D. Egan क्या बोलते हैं? According to the Paul D. Egan, teaching models are the prescriptive teaching strategies. Prescriptive teaching strategies designed to accomplish particular instructional goals, right? If we conclude that So teaching models basically instructional objectives. Okay, it helps the teachers for organizing the curriculum as well as development and selections of the instructional objectives, right? Next, we discuss about the features and characteristics of the teaching models so that, the concept of a teaching models would be clear to us more, right, guys? So first feature or characteristics of teaching model says that teaching model is some sort of pattern or plans prepared in advance for the success of the teaching learning process, right, guys? Don't think that teaching is not uh, uh, you know it is a systematic activity. Teaching is not everybody's cup of tea. You should have the complete knowledge of that. Whatever you are going to the student, teach to the student, you prepare in advance. We come to know from the teaching models. Number one is teaching models are some sort of pattern or plans prepared in advance for the success of a teaching learning process. Nobody can become a teacher and can say that because you are teaching in the class sometimes, and many of the teacher thinks that they are teaching well, right? But unless or until they don't go these teaching methodology, they cannot become an effective teacher. This is the reason in a B.Ed course these topics are included. Okay, these all the things you are doing, the childhood and growing up, contemporary Indian education, teaching learning process, these all the syllabus is called the teaching methodology, right? Number second feature or characteristics of teaching model is teaching models provide specific guidelines or blueprint in advance for the realizations of the specific objective. For example, engineer, there is a one engineer, if he has to construct a building, so first of all, he makes a model, he makes a blueprint. According to the blueprint, he prepares the building. So similarly, you are dealing with a student. You have to make a blueprint. Okay, whatever you are going to teach to the student, what will be the objective of that instruction which you are going to teach? Okay, once your lecture would be finished, what the student will attain, whether the behavior, there is a modifications of behavior of student or not. Number third, feature or characteristics of teaching model teaching models help in creating a proper teaching learning environment. Number four, teaching models provide systematic procedure and organized efforts for the desirable modification of behavior of the learners. Many times, modifications of behavior, this word is using, and in my teaching also, I have also used many times. I have told you that if you are going to teach, you should know the subject first. Subject, it doesn't mean the course content. Subject means student first. You should know the behavior of the student first. Okay. Actually, what the teacher does when teacher teaches in the class, guys, right? So teacher basically it is reflecting the behavior of the teacher. So teacher and students, they are interacting, with the behavior. Okay. So when you finish your teaching, there should be a modification of behavior of the learner. Only then your teaching is successful. Okay, these all things, teachings, maxims of teaching, principles of a teaching, psychological principles of a teachings, we have done under a teaching learning process, phases of teaching. We have done the learning theories, trial and error theories, classical conditioning theories, because these all we should know being to make our teaching learning process effective, right? Number fifth is teaching models help the teacher in the task in the same way as an engineer is helped in the construction of a building or a bridge by an appropriate model. We just discussed. For example, one engineer has to make a building, so he makes the blueprint or a model first, then he works on that. So similarly, whatever we are going to teach, we should know each and everything. What each and everything we will know, in the coming slides under the GLASER teaching model. Number 6, teaching model saves the energy, time, and effort of the teacher and the learners. Besides, providing economy to the best utilizations of other teaching learning resources. Right, guys? I hope the concept of a teaching models, okay, you have understood well, right? Basically, teaching models are the blueprint guidelines. It helps the teacher for organizing the curriculum. It helps the teacher for the selection and development of the instructional objectives, okay? Makes the teaching learning process effective, right? So, okay, the next topic is components or elements of model of teaching. Okay, so we have come to know about the models of teaching, teaching models. Okay, and being of a teacher, we should know the components, elements of models of teaching. Okay, these are the 6 components. Okay, number 1 is focus, syntax. Number 3 is principle of reaction. Number 4, social system. Number 5, support system. And number 6, application. So these 6 are the components or elements of models of teaching. We know models of teaching. We should also know the components or elements of models of teaching. Focus. What is the focus? Focus means it is a central or main aspect of teaching model. Focus tells us what is the reason for teaching a particular topic in the classroom. Have you thought that a particular topic you are going to teach today, what is the reason behind it? Why you are going to teach to the student? After completing the topic, okay, what the student will get? What is your objective basically? या ऐसे ही आप पढ़ाई जा रहे हैं? There is no reason, there is no aim. So focus tells us what is the reason of teaching a particular topic in the classroom, right? Number 2, syntax. Syntax talks about phases or stages as how it begins and what the sequence of activities is. Means what sequence of activities we are following during the teaching, right? These sequences are unique to the specific models. There are a lot of models now, but in our syllabus there are only 2 models. One is a GLASER basic teaching model, and second is concept attainment model given by the Brunner. But there are other model also, inquiry model, philosophical model, Plato ka model hai, right? These syntax, that's why it is syntax is saying that these sequences are unique to the specific models. Means every model has different sequence, different syntax. Okay, number 3 is principle of reaction. Third component or element of models of teaching of principle of a reaction. It says that it is the reaction or mode of a teacher when a learner responds to a particular thing. Okay, when the student responds now, so what is the the relationship between teacher and the learner, hana? Whether the teacher in you will come to know various teaching models. In some models you will come to know that teacher dominates the class. Some models there is a interactions between the students and teachers more and more, right? In the same way we done the behaviorism, constructivism, right? Number 4 is the social system. Social system element of model of a teaching says that it describes the role of a student and the teacher and the relationship between them. Okay, it is all about the activities of a teacher, student, and activities itself. It provides information about the connections of each and everything in the class, right? Number 5 is support system. Social system also talks about what is the relationship between teacher and the student. Okay, support system. Support system talks about that it refers to the material that supported a teacher while instructing students. It can be journal, textbook, articles, audiovisual aids, newspaper, and other learning objects, right? So we have to use the teaching aids this support system is talking about. And last is the application. Applications, the element of models of a teaching, says that this element describes its application aspect. Some are meant for a short lesson, some are meant for a large lesson, some are for both, right? Means we will do the teaching models now. Okay, what is the applications of these teaching models, right? Because it depends upon our subject, our topic. Okay, according to the topic, according to the knowledge, okay, which models we are using, right, guys? So these are the 6 components or models of a teaching under the, models of a teaching topics. Okay. So now guys, we talk about the GLASER'S basic teaching model. Okay. So GLASER'S basic teaching model, it was given by the Robert Glaser in the year of 1962. Robert Glaser was an American psychologist. This models of teaching or teaching model explains the relationship between teaching and learning. It provides a simple and adequate conceptualizations of the teaching process. Okay, the next is why sometimes question comes, why this teaching model is called a basic teaching model? Okay, because it is a name, na, GLASER'S basic teaching model. It is called the basic teaching model because it presents a very basic analysis of the process of teaching in terms of the elements of a teaching. Okay, as well, this model applies to all levels of education. Means this model is a suitable, means once you know that model now and you teach according to that model, you work according to that model. So this model fits to all the classes, elementary classes, secondary classes, higher education classes, and teaching for any length of a time. Whether you are teaching for a 40 minutes, 1 hour or a week, this model is a possible. That is called, this model is called a basic teaching model, right? As well, it explains the whole teaching learning process by dividing it into the 4 basic components, right? So it is called the basic teaching model given by the Glaser. Because of that, why it is called the basic teaching model? Because it explains the whole teaching learning process by dividing it into the 4 basic components. Instructional objective, number 1, number 2, entering behavior, number 3, instructional procedure, and number 4, performance assessment. So these 4 components given by the Glaser, okay, we should know about these 4 components, only then we can know about the Glaser's basic teaching model. And later we will, descriptions of basic teaching models we will do that. These model meets the all 6 components of the teaching models like focus, syntax, social system, support system, and applications, right? First we understand these all the 4 components which was given by the Glaser, right? Instructional objective, entering behavior, instructional procedure, and performance assessment, right guys? So you should, each and everything, it should be on your fingertip, guys. You should know about it. These 4 things you should know that. Then only then you can do that. You are going according to that, teaching models. You have come to know about that teaching models. Okay. So what are these 4 components? What are the instructional objective? What are the entering behavior? What are the instructional procedure? What are the performance assessment? Right. So we do one by one. Right. First we do instructional objective. Right. The component of a Glaser's basic teaching model. Instructional objective is those objectives that the student should attain upon completions of a unit of instruction. Right? This is called the instructional objective. Right? I explain you side by side so that you will come to know that in a very easy manner. For example, we are going to teach to the student, right? So we should have in the mind when I will finish my lecture, upon completion of the lecture, what the student will attain, right? This process is called the instructional objective. Okay, means whatever in the whole year, whatever the topic I'm going to teach, there should be a objective. There must be objective, right? ऐसे नहीं हमने कुछ भी पढ़ा देना बच्चे को, right? There should be objective. It must be objective. It is, we are teaching to the student. And second is a entering behavior. Okay, what is a entering behavior? This model talks about what is entering behavior. This model says that the component of Glaser teaching model, every learner has initial behavior before he enters teaching learning process. Correct, right? it is essential to detect the entering behavior of the learner before giving instruction. This is the most important, guys, right? Don't think that this is my syllabus. मैंने syllabus करवा दिया, I have become an effective teacher, right? So this model says that every learner has an initial behavior, right, before entering into the class, and it is essential on the part of the teacher to detect the entering behavior of the learner before giving instruction, right? Sometimes you have seen that now many teachers comes directly into the class and start teaching. Actually, these teachers are responsible for killing the reasoning power of the student, right, guys? Next, it is just like a previous knowledge of the subject, or the performance of the learner in terms of educational abilities. Means it, in front of you there are 25-30 students you are going to teach. At least being of a teacher, this model says that you should know the abilities, previous knowledge of the student in terms of the education. What is the level of the student? Simple term in the simple term means what is the level of the student you are going to teach to the student. First of all, you should know the level of the student first. Then you have to maintain and select your instructional material according to the mind level of the student. Because in a 30 student in a class, there are 30 or 40 students. Some students are intelligent, some are average, some are below average. Okay, you should know the entering behavior, means mind level of the students, mental level of the students, right? Attitude, aptitude, each and everything, what the student thinks, from where the student has come, what was the background of the students, you should know first, right, guys? This model says, and that's why this model comes under the category of a psychological model, right? One is a Plato model. It was given by the Plato. That model is called the philosophical model. That comes under the philosophical model. This model comes from the category of a psychological model, right? Last, this step is more important because only after this step the teacher can make the student from entering behavior to terminal behavior. Yeah, बहुत ही बढ़िया line है, right? This step is the most important because only after this step the teacher can take the student from entering behavior to the terminal behavior. Terminal behavior means end behavior. Means once you finish your lecture, then what will be the modification of the behavior of the student? This is called the terminal behavior. Okay. For example, I am giving you the lecture today. Today you never know what was the topic Lalit sir is going to teach. You come to know that this is the models of teaching, right? And after completion of my topic, whether your behavior has modified or not, you have come to know that about this teaching methods or not. This is called terminal behavior, and here this is called the entering behavior, right? So you should know that you have to manage these all the things. Okay, if you know about this model, GLASER'S basic teaching models, right? So first instructional objective we done, entering behavior we done. Third is instructional procedure. Now guys, the term comes about, it indicates the method, procedure, strategies of teaching, which depends on objective and entering behavior of the learner, right? Now, first of all, you have come to know the knowledge of the student, behavior of the student, है ना? Uski previous knowledge you have come to know that, right? Now, according to that, you have prepared your method, you have prepared your strategies, you have prepared your instructions, how you have to deliver to the student. This comes under the instructional procedure. Okay, this component depends on two previous components. So first of all, being of a teacher, you should know about the first two things, right? Instructional objectives and entering behavior of the student. Okay, then you have to start teaching. Method, procedure, and strategies you have to decide according to that, right? And number 4, don't forget it, performance assessment. The GLASER basic teaching model says that here ultimate behavior of the learner is tested so that feedback may be given. Evaluations technique used for the purpose of assessment, tests as observations, interviewing, grading scale. All four basic models are interrelated with one another. They interact and influence each other. So in a simple term, performance assessment talks about when you start teaching, first of all, you have come to know the, entering behavior of the student. You prepare the instruction, you deliver the instruction, and last 5 or 10 minutes in your lectures, you have to check the performance of the students by asking the questions, by taking the test, by interview, by asking the orally questions, right? So these four things, these components was given by the GLASER basic teaching models. I hope you have understood this, right? Now, guys, we talk about description of GLASER's basic teaching model, right? So first we have done that now. These 6 are the, elements of the teaching models: focus, syntax, social system, support system, applications. Now we here we looked at whether these GLASER's basic teaching model meeting that criteria or not, right? वो जो 6 components थे, whatever the model, we have to see whether all the models meeting that criteria or not. So first we talk about the focus. So what was the focus under the teaching model? Focus talks about the means for, we are going to deliver a lesson, which is the purpose of that lesson. So this model, talks about now what is the instructional objectives mean, what is the purpose of that lesson, entering behavior of the student. So focus, it is meeting that, right? This model attempt to pinpoint the process and major activities comprising the entire teaching learning process, right? Second, talk about the syntax. Syntax, what we have done under the teaching models, components of a teaching model. What is the syntax? Syntax means flow of instruction, sequence of instruction. Now we see that whether the GLASER basic teaching models follow the instructions or not, sequence of instructions or not. So in this model, flow of activities is sequential as listed below. First, the objective to be followed and fixed. We should know that first of all, what is our objective before entering into the class, because first instructional objective of GLASER teaching model says that. Okay, then the entering behavior showing the understanding and background of the student is determined, right? We'll come to know that what is the previous knowledge of the student, we have learned in the basic GLASER's basic teaching model. Thereafter, the instruction work is carried out to achieve the objectives, keeping in view the entering behavior of the learner, right? It is also meeting. Then the social system. Okay, what the social system we have done under the teaching model. Social system means what is the relationship between teacher and learner, whether the teacher dominates the class, So social system says that GLASER teaching model describes a teacher dominated the classroom climate. You have come to know that because all the 4 things is done by the teacher. I show you the model. Once again, previous slide I show you. Okay, see it. Instructional objective decided by the teacher. Entering behavior decided by the teacher. Entering behavior means what is the level of the student. Assumes karke chalta hai. Then he plans instructional procedure. And number 4, performance assessment. Right? He checks whether the student has understood the topic or not. By interviewing, by observations, by orally asking. Right? These all things are done by the teacher. So here, teacher dominates the class, right? This model describes a teacher-dominated classroom climate. The success of this model depends upon the competency and ability of the teacher in terms of the various skills, like the formulations of objective, use of a proper strategies, techniques of evaluation, etc. Right? Means a teacher should know each and everything. Okay. Only then he can use this model as well as he can improve his teaching by using that model. Okay. Next, principle of a reaction. Main principle of a reaction are as follows. Principle of interdependence. And the students are depending on the teacher, right? Okay, they learn from the teacher. The principle of active involvement. Proper execution of this model requires a lot of activity on the part of the teacher. And you have seen that we should know, being of a teacher, we should know all the 4 components models of a GLASER's basic teaching model. So Proper execution of this model requires a lot of activity on the part of the teacher. The model requires the active involvement of the teacher from the beginning to the end. So this is the duty of the teacher from entering behavior to terminal behavior. The moment students enter in the class, teacher should know the behavior of the student, mind level of the student, and after 30 minutes when teacher delivers the lesson and what are the objectives student would attain after completions of the topic, this is called the terminal behavior. So entering behavior to terminal behavior means from beginning to the end. This model talks about the active involvement of the teacher from the beginning to the end. Got it, student? Understanding of the potential and deficiency of the student is required at every stage of the teacher in order to achieve the objective. Principles of follow-up and assessment is made after teaching, right? After teaching, because last, the fourth component of a GLASER teaching model talks about the performance assessment. Teacher checks that and assess that. Assessment is made after teaching. In case the results are not according with set objective, gaps and deficiencies are found out by the teacher, then he tries to rectify the drawbacks by taking corrective measures, right? For example, I'm teaching to you, Hana. Then later on I came to know that you have not understood a particular thing. Okay, so I have to rectify. Okay, where you are lacking. Two things you have understood. Two components you didn't understand, Hana. So then I have to work on that. Right, guys? So next is a support system. Support system, the teacher needs following support system for its success. Availability of the appropriate evaluations devices for the assessment of entering and terminal behavior of the student. So if you are following this GLASER teaching model in your teaching learning process, okay, you can use the in your class, in your topic, you can use the teaching aids, audio visual aids, and others to make your teaching learning process effective. And the application, since the model is a quite systematic and structured, it is applicable to almost all the learning and teaching situations. And we have come to know that for elementary classes, secondary classes, this model is a very useful. It fits all level of education, even the higher level of education. It implies a personal contact between the teacher and the student. It implies a greater emphasis on the competency of the teacher. Right, guys? So this is all about the descriptions of the GLASER'S basic teaching model. Right, guys? So first, we have come to know today what are the teaching models, right? And then we talk about the some definitions of the teaching models. Then what are the characteristics and features of teaching models? Then we talk about the GLASER'S basic teaching model. Okay, Robert GLASER'S gave this teaching model in 1962 according to 4 components he has given. So we discussed the 4 components of a GLASER teaching model. Then we discussed about the description of a GLASER'S basic teaching model in terms of components of the teaching models. वो जो 6 components थे, right? So we have done this. Thank you so much, guys.